Welcome to, or welcome back to, the Agatha May Detective Agency. I'm Agatha May, and I'm so glad you've joined me for the fourth episode of the Kadie Major case, Tracking Down Her Killer. If you need to get caught up on the case, I'll leave a link to the playlist in the description box. And as a brief recap, Kadie Major and her 10-month-old daughter, River Lynn, were found deceased beside the railroad tracks on January 17, 2008, in Moncks Corner, South Carolina. Katie's death was ruled a suicide and Rivers was undetermined. The case remains open. In the last episode, we looked at the statement that Aaron made to investigators on the day that they'd found Kadie and Rivers' bodies, and looked at the first half of his interview with Jerry Merrithew with the Berkeley County Sheriff's Department. We left off with Aaron saying that the night that Kadie left, after he got out of the shower, he got in his truck and went to look for her and River. Then I think he told on himself. Quote, and then I drove around just in the central Moncks Corner area hotels. I checked hotels. I thought, well, she's not safe here. She's going to go to a hotel. And she's got, several $100s to just, Jerry, where'd she get the money from? Aaron, we do a cash budget every week, so once a week or sometimes once every 2 weeks, we'll get a lump sum out to, delegate the budget out. So she had earlier in the week, she got out, I think it's around $500 or so. And, that's for the bills and mortgage. And, well, not the mortgage, we pay that with a check, but, various food and everything. We get $100 a piece every week. So she had a good bit of money still in her purse from what so that's why I was like, because she was paranoid of being followed. So I figured she had that cash and she would be somewhere and just use cash so she wouldn't have to swipe a debit card. Then, instead of following up with any questions about what bills Kadie might have paid out of that money, Jerry goes into asking Aaron about when the last time was he'd put gas in his truck. Shut up, Jerry. I would like to know if he ever followed up to see if they actually use cash to pay their bills and buy groceries. Also, in Aaron's initial statement, he never mentioned this money. He said, quote, I woke up at 5:45 a.m., then I went to get money from an envelope that had savings in it, several $100s. When I realized that the envelope was gone, I became very worried, fearing something was wrong. I knew she wasn't coming back, end quote. So why did his story change? And then Aaron went on to talk about where he'd looked for Kadie on that Wednesday night. Aaron, I was just in near the Moncks Corner Central Downtown Berkeley Hotel, and I just like, man, this is just like a needle in a haystack. Anytime she's ever left before, she'd be back in 15 minutes to 30 minutes and perfectly, whatever, cooled off. Jerry, why has she left before? Aaron, she'd just get, I can't remember, she just got mad for some reason, or I don't know if it's that time of month or whatever, and she just need to, cool off or whatever, or just Jerry. So you guys are like most married couples. You would all argue on occasion. Aaron, if it was more or less just, if maybe it was that time of the month, or one of us is really tired, or just crabby, stuff, not like we ever had any arguments, like argue over or something, just stupid stuff. I know this man did not just blame their arguments on Kadie being on her period. She had been pregnant for most of the last 2 years she was alive. Then Jerry asked, ever been physical with each other? Aaron, no, nothing, just nothing like hitting her or nothing. Just, nothing abusive or anything. So I asked my husband how he would answer that question, and he had a pretty simple answer, and that was no. No stuttering or stammering, just a simple no. So according to Aaron, it wasn't hitting and it wasn't abusive, but it sounds like it was something. His answer was all over the place. And Jerry just completely glossed over that and asked, okay, so she's gone, so she uses that as her, when she argues, she would leave? Aaron, yeah, a few times, and she'd be back like that, and then snapped his fingers. I don't know if she'd ever even got out of the neighborhood, to tell you the truth. She just, she'd be like, this is stupid. Jerry, I need to train my wife to do that, 'cause she'll stay there and raise hell till it drives me crazy. But anyway, listen, so, you rode around for a while, but a needle in a haystack. Again, Jerry, just shut up. Why are you joking about training your wife to leave in a situation where when someone's wife left, she ended up dead beside the railroad tracks? Let me throw in here that Jerry ran for sheriff of Berkeley County in 2015, and he lost, and he's still not sheriff. Aaron continued with, I just sat there in the Bilo shopping center for a minute. I was just trying to think, you know. I don't know, trying to figure this out, I guess. So I'm like, I'm just going to go home because she's going to be back just like before, you know, and that's when I did Derek's payroll. Jerry, about what time you think you got home? Do you look at the clock when you come in? Aaron, I don't know. Jerry, but it should be on the computer when you started doing the payroll. Aaron, yeah, I got the payroll. It's still sitting in the office because I hadn't got the checkbook to pay him yet. Yeah, it's on QuickBooks. I got the thing printed out. It was between 8 and 9 when I first left the house, I guess. So I don't know, it might have been, I'm just guessing between 9 and 10. I mean, I wasn't gone very long. I just got out. I was like, I figure she's going to be back. So I went back, took care of my stuff. I started looking over some of the stuff she had been trying to remember some of the stuff she had shown me on the internet to try and figure out what's going on, you know? I looked at that for several hours, probably just trying to figure out what happened. When she hadn't been back after a couple of hours, that's when I was like, okay, I didn't know what was going on because this is just completely abnormal for her. So I went out and drove around again. And this time I went everywhere that I could think of around the area except for North Charleston because she hates North Charleston. And to her, North Charleston is just kind of like a scary ghetto area, I guess. I know she wasn't going to get a hotel down there when she's scared. So I went down to Goose Creek around back. I'm not real super familiar with Somerville, so I went through, I don't know what he said here, Ladson, and I tried to make a big swoop through Somerville back 17A in that area. I found all them hotels there at the interstate. Drove around all them trying to find her truck. Drove around all the hotels I could find in Goose Creek prior to that, and I just came back 17A road. She's going to be at a hotel because she doesn't want to be here. So, and then I went back to the house because I thought she'd be here. I was thinking she's going to be there, and she wasn't, that when I went down, oh, this is bad, to Hall's house directly. No, hang on. And she wasn't, that's when I went down to Hall's house directly. I woke them up. So, Katie wasn't going to be home because she was scared, but he went home because he thought she was at home. So when he said, I started looking over some of the stuff she had been, and then he stopped, what was he going to say? Was he looking over some of the stuff she'd been writing down? And was he talking about the note that was found in her pocket? So was that note something that Katie had taken with her, or was it planted? And why didn't Aaron ever think that Katie had gone to her parents' house? Why a hotel? I know he gave that BS story about Katie being paranoid and not trusting her mother, but I don't believe that for a second. I think that was made up later to cover up why he waited until 1:44 in the morning to let her parents know she was missing. Jerry, now, did you call home from time to time to see if she came back? Aaron, yeah, and I called her cell phone just for the heck of it, maybe one or two times. Oh, yeah, I called the house several times just hoping she'd pick it up. So, why would he call her cell phone? It was broken. He said it was broken. Everyone knew it was broken. So, what purpose would calling it have unless it was to quote unquote prove he was trying to find her? Jerry, got any idea what time it was when you got home? Aaron, I don't know. Jerry, before going to the halls, you have any idea what time it was when you got to the halls? Aaron, I was out for a couple, however long, an hour and a half or 2 hours, I think. I'm trying to remember when I left the house. 'Cause, I was there waiting on her for a couple of hours. And that's when I got worried and I left, so I was gone it was getting later. It might have been an hour on either side of midnight, maybe here somewhere around that time. Jerry then started asking about what time they normally go to bed because, that's the most important thing to follow up that mess that Aaron just said. So we're going to skip that. And then Aaron continued with his time at the halls. Quote, I told them all this conspiracy stuff and everything that I could to try to explain to him, and we figured she was going to be back, yeah, and we were just kind of waiting for her we checked hotels. We were going to check hotels the next day and stuff because we figured she's just going to, I don't know, we didn't really know. We were just trying to sit down and figure out what she would have done. So I don't know. I'm not even sure what time I left there. We were there for a while. I don't know, it's kind of blurry. I think I went to bed. I slept for about an hour and got up at 5:45 again to start the day. I was at their house for a little while and I waited up. I tried to wait up for a while because I was waiting on her. Slept for about an hour, woke up. She still wasn't there, and I was really worried. Jerry, now was this the next day? Aaron, that morning. So I was just gonna, Jeff called me and was asking me if I wanted to go look for her, and I said yeah. So I was gonna set my employee up so we get something done today. And I went to go get some money out of our savings envelopes for, just lunch or whatever. And that's when I opened the filing cabinet and all the savings was gone. I believe there's two envelopes in there, my savings and her savings. And that's when I got worried, like she's not coming back because she's got, I don't know exactly how much. I mean, she might have $500 or $600 cash to just hang out there with. I didn't know how we were going to really. So that's where we run into this money thing again. So did Kadie have money from the 500 she'd gotten out of the bank and the savings? And why didn't Aaron mention the $500 in his initial statement? And did the investigators ever check to see if that $500 was actually withdrawn from the bank and how much of it was used on bills, or did they just take Aaron's word about it? Aaron continued. So I was getting more worried the more stuff that was kind of, the further it went along, the more I was like, because she's never been gone like this at all. So that's when I dropped my truck off at the halls. I sent my guy out, and me and Vicky, we set up Sarah, which is Katie's sister, at my house to wait in case she came back. So somebody would be there to talk to her, and we set someone up at their house. And then Jeff, her dad, he went to work, and me and Vicky went around just kind of central area again, trying to just check stuff and then figure out what she might have done. I guess, eventually we split up. She went down towards, I'm not sure exactly where she went, down towards Goose Creek area, I think. And I went up. I figured she's in Columbia or something because we were going to take a trip to Highlands, North Carolina, because, we used to live in Clemson. So in his initial statement, Aaron said that, quote, Jeff Hall called me to tell me that him and Jeremy were going to work out the schedule so I could continue to look for Kadie. I took my truck to the halls and set my employee, and then myself and Vicky took two trucks and we split up looking for her. Drove around Monk's Corner, then met back up. So which is it? Did he and Vicky go looking together or separately? According to Vicky, they had driven together and then split up. Aaron then talked about what he supposedly heard on the radio. Quote, I heard on Talk Radio 94.3 that there had been a young child, hit by the train in Berkeley County. And I didn't even want to think about that. You know what I'm saying? I was just kind of trying to, and I was worried because it said a young child, and I thought that was weird. And I called Vicky and I told her that. So I just kept going where I was going, to just try not to think that that was her. You know what I'm saying? And then Vicky turned around and said she was heading back that way and she's going to check it out. And that's when she eventually pulled up on the scene. She called me, and I'm not even sure where I was, somewhere past Harleyville, somewhere in there. I don't know, on I-26. So I turned around and got back here as soon as I could, because she said she saw Katie's truck parked by the train tracks. That's when I knew that was her. In his statement, Aaron said this about that supposed radio announcement, quote, while looking, I overheard over talk radio that there had been a woman and a small child found on a railroad track in Berkeley County. I called Vicky to tell her what I heard. She told me that she was going to head that way and find out. I was driving towards Columbia to check hotels and gas stations and rest areas due to Kadie feeling safe there. So his story changed from a child being hit by a train to a woman and a child being found alongside the railroad tracks. And there was no mention in his initial statement that he didn't immediately go to the railroad tracks because of being scared about what he would find. And you know what he didn't say? He didn't say that the radio announcement mentioned Oakley Road. And we already know that there was no announcement of any kind about anyone being on the railroad tracks on the radio that morning. And did Jerry ask how Aaron knew to send Vicky to the Oakley Road Railroad crossing? Of course he didn't. But he did ask him this. Who's told you what happened? Has anyone told you what's happened with Kadie? Aaron, not really. I mean, I kinda heard some stuff from family. Jerry, what family? Aaron, I guess Kadie's mom and other people, I guess, who watched or seen something on the news. I don't know who actually talked to her. Jerry, can you remember what they told you? Aaron, that River had drowned or was in the water and Kadie had got hit by the train. That's all I really knew, and her car was parked somewhere on Oakley Road. And that's all I kinda know still, I guess. They said River wasn't, no marks or anything. She was drowned. and that Kadie got hit by a train. So he'd never ask questions about what happened to them. A week later, and he's still saying he's pretty much in the dark about his wife and child's death. Now, I understand not wanting to know the gory details, but come on. He didn't ever ask anyone anything? Then Jerry asked, did Kadie always wear her wedding bands? Aaron, she did. And that's when I knew because I didn't know what to think when I first heard that it was like suicide or I don't know, crazy. Maybe she was. Somebody really was after her or whatnot. But when I didn't know that until y'all came to her house, I don't even know what day that was. Y'all came and talked to us with her family and my family, and y'all said that her wedding rings were in her pants pocket or something like that. Is that right? Jerry, mm hmm. Aaron, because sometimes she'd just get emotional or whatever, and she'd start trying to say that I didn't love her and I didn't think she's beautiful and all that stuff. And she'd grab like a pill bottle or something out of the cabinet and I'd hear it. She'd let me hear, I'd hear it. She'd make it to where it was and she'd lock herself in the bathroom like she's going to kill herself or something. She tried to test you, I think, to see if you cared about her, you know? I mean that she did that a couple of times, and she would take her wedding rings off and throw them at me. Here, come on, she'd make, to see if I cared, I guess. Jerry, I understand. Did you love her? Yes. Did you love your child? Yes, I love my child. And when y'all told me that, and from what I know so far that she had done it because she felt like she was saying she did that, I didn't believe her, and I didn't love her before she left. And then I guess she took her rings off and then did whatever she did, I guess. I mean, as far as I know, that's what I know. That's when I kind of felt like, okay, I guess she did do it. So, as far as he knew, that's what he knew. So, Katie taking off her rings is what led him to believe she'd committed suicide. I don't understand how that's supposed to make sense, and I really don't understand anything he just tried to say. Jerry asked if there was anything else Aaron could think of that would be important, and Aaron said, quote, this is Kenny yet came up with this, and so that's I was asking you about it. Is it possible for the train to suck her in as far as air pressure? Jerry, Kenny is being? Aaron, that's Vicky's brother. Jerry, and he's the guy from Massachusetts or something like that. Aaron, he's from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Same thing as Massachusetts. Because it's just hard to comprehend that kind of in that split second that somebody who said they're protecting their kids is going to go out there and do that, you know? Because I was in the shower around 8. They said they saw her truck around, I guess, 8:30 from what I've heard just via the grapevine or whatever. So that means that basically she left the house. This is what's hard for me. She took the money. I think she had the green diaper bag with her and a bottle, so she was planning on survival. And just in that, I don't know, 5, 10 minutes it takes to get down to Oakley, she changed her mind. I don't know what you'd really call that. Well, I probably have some words for it. Jerry, well, when you say she took stuff for survival, do you know if she took any coats? Aaron, she had a coat on all day. River didn't have a coat on when she was in the house, and from what I heard, on out there. Jerry, I mean, I know you haven't been at the house much and haven't probably looked around much, but does River have just one coat or does she have several? Aaron, she has several. She's got several. So if she had one on in the car, I don't even know. Jerry, so would you notice if any particular coat was missing? Aaron, no, because she's got several. I don't know. She's got a lot of clothes and stuff. And she has a lot of toys, so I don't even know if what really she had or whatnot. So we're supposed to believe that a mother who packed a diaper bag and made a bottle for her 10-month-old baby didn't take the time to grab a coat for her when it was sleeting outside? It just doesn't add up to me. And I haven't seen any mention of a blanket being on the track or in the truck either. I just have trouble believing that Katie took River out that night without being bundled up somehow. Jerry, so what you're telling me is if I'm reading between the lines, and correct me if I'm wrong, and please interject, because I just want to know what your thoughts are. So your thoughts are that apparently, you must have heard something that leads you to believe somebody must have said something to you that led you that she might have committed suicide or something of that nature. I'm not sure that Jerry speaks any better than Aaron does. Aaron, well, because I've heard about the postpartum depression, and postpartum psychosis, which is more like quick. It's not like a long, because that's why I couldn't understand how she did it, because she was perfectly, from what I saw, stable until, I guess, Tuesday. And that's what was hard for me to swallow because until I heard about the postpartum psychosis, which I'm not, I read one article on it. So I don't really know exactly what that is, but you can kind of snap quick and know. Jerry, who told you about that just for curiosity's sake? Erin, my sister and her husband, before she's from California, before she flew down or whatever, they had done a lot of research on it. I guess just to try to figure out what happened. And she brought some articles. I hadn't had a chance to read them yet, except for just when I was in the car. Jerry, well, let me ask you this. What do you think happened? Erin, I don't know. That's why I was asking you about the. I don't know what happened. That's why I was asking you of the possibility of that force of this, the wind current from the train. I was okay. I was thinking she left the house and she got paranoid of me, So she knew as soon as I got out of the shower, I'm going to try to find her. So maybe she pulled down Oakley, which I don't ever go down unless I'm going to the dump, and parked her truck, got out of the truck to try to leave the truck because she figured, eventually we're going to try to find the truck, try to find the truck through, police or whatever, search their license plate and all that stuff to try to find her because we're worried about her. Maybe, I mean, this is just a theory, I guess, but she got out of the truck to get away from the truck, and she wanted to walk down the train tracks to kind of get away from anything anyway. People could find her, I guess, And her parents' house is only like 8/10 of a mile from where she was, and you can see the barn clear as day there. So we're just trying to figure out if maybe she was trying to get to her parents' house without leaving a vehicle there, or something crazy like that. And somehow she didn't intentionally get hit by the train. I don't know. I don't even know if that's possible. Why mention that he doesn't ever go down Oakley Road? Is that supposed to show that Katie went there because she was trying to hide from him and she knew he never went down there unless he was going to the dump? Or did he say that he never goes down Oakley Road to cover up that he'd been on Oakley Road that night? And if she was going to hide the truck from him or from anyone, why didn't she pick a less conspicuous spot than right at the end of someone's driveway? I've looked at where Katie's parents' house was, and it's more like a mile from where Katie was found. And you cannot see the barn from where they were found either. There are trees all along the train tracks. And in a photo that was taken the day that Katie and River were found, you can see that there are trees. And now Erin thinks that Katie might have been on her way to see her parents, even though she was allegedly paranoid about them too. And if Erin didn't really know much about what happened to Katie and River, how did he come up with the 8/10 of a mile measurement? So I did some measuring on the map, and the Hall's property is just about 8/10 of a mile from the Cypress Gardens Road railroad crossing, which was south of where Katie was found. So what if Katie hadn't entered the tracks from the Oakley Road crossing, but rather from the Cypress Gardens Road crossing? What if she was trying to get away from someone and wasn't hit by a train, but rather by a truck that was chasing her down the railway access road? Because from that direction, you would pass the Hall farm in order to get where Katie was found. And in the next episode, we'll look into this theory of mine more. Jerry, do you think anyone was after her? Erin, I don't think so. Jerry, you think it was all Erin? I think it was all in her head. The thing that's confusing to me is it's completely irrational what she was saying, but rationally, those 4 times or so on Wednesday or so, she came to talk to me. She was worried about someone coming after her, and she said she felt like that gut feeling like she's going to die tonight or be killed tonight, is what she said. So she left me with that mother instinct of protecting the kids. When she took the money, it's hard for me to say 15 minutes later she stood, and I mean, it must take you 15 to 20 minutes to walk that far down the tracks, in the black ice, cold rain, and then you got to watch the light come at you for however long until the train comes at you. That takes a lot of guts, too. Well, that's a hard way to do it, so I don't know. That's just hard for me. I don't know. I don't really know what happened. I guess because, I mean, I tried the night. I think it was Thursday night. I went out there about 8:30 just to try to process this, and I walked partially down there. I was like, "Good night." I couldn't even walk down there because it's eerie. So I just don't see how, because she's not like it takes a lot of something to get the nerve up to watch the headlights come at you for how long and stand there and not move. Jerry, did you have anything to do with your wife's death? No. Did you have anything to do with your child's death? No. Jerry, if you knew what happened, would you tell us? Erin, I want to know what happened. That's why I'm just thinking through any kind of anything. This is just crazy ideas. Because her eyes aren't very good. She didn't have her glasses because I found those in the kitchen. And when she drives at night, it's just like a big, blurry fuzzballs. So I don't know if maybe she was trying to make it across that bridge and didn't. I realized how close the train was. And that bridge is so skinny that she was on the bridge and didn't realize how fast the train was coming. And for some reason, she didn't intend. I want to know just for me whether or not she did it on purpose. I guess that's what, for me to have closure, I guess. I want to know if she literally, because some people say, I don't know whether she threw her in the water, meaning River, or she got hit and River got chucked into the water from the blow. Or that's why I was trying to ask you about if River was in the water at that bridge, because I can see how maybe. Jerry, no, we'll talk about all that. And with any questions you got, I hope I can answer for you, if I can. But I just wanted to know what you thought and what happened that night. So, Aaron, who claims to know very little about what happened to his wife and who didn't go to the train tracks the day Katie and River were found, knew exactly where they were found and knew it by the evening they were found. And according to Katie's mother, when she showed up to the railroad crossing and was approached by the deputies, they told her to call Aaron and tell him to just go home, which is what he did. But not only did Aaron know where Katie and River had been found, he also knew there was a bridge there. But how did he know that? I don't think it's not like an overhead bridge. So, from what I can tell, it's a small bridge, and I'm assuming it's a bridge on the access road that goes over the pond or stream water that's there. So, if Aaron couldn't make it all the way down the tracks because it was so eerie, how did he know there was a bridge there? He went there at night. It was dark. He wouldn't be able to see the bridge. And I know people do weird things after someone dies, but going to the site of where your wife and daughter were found that same day just seems a little off to me. And who in the hell refers to their child being thrown as getting chucked into the water? That's what you say about inanimate objects. You don't chuck humans. Then Jerry asked a question that seemed to be pretty popular with investigators, and that was, let me ask you this. If down the road we find out that an individual has actually killed them, what do you think should happen to him? Aaron, I believe in the death penalty myself, but they don't seem to do that anymore, not very much. Jerry, well, that's an honest answer. So you'd want to see if someone killed your wife and child, you'd want to see them put to death. Aaron, wouldn't you? And that was pretty much the end of the interview. And then they skipped off down the hall together to get coffee or something. So I believe in the death penalty might be honest, Gerald, but it's also evasive. He didn't answer with, yeah, that bastard needs to hang. He just said he believed in the death penalty. Jerry's a putz. So I think this entire investigation was botched. And this interview with Aaron was actually supposed to be an interrogation, but it wasn't. It was just a bunch of questions without any follow up and no holding Aaron accountable for his discrepancies. In the next episode, we're going to look at the evidence from the case and look at how the original investigators just did a big old ugly belly flop with it. Thank you so much for being here. Please like, share, and comment as this helps get Katie's story out to more people. I'll be back soon with episode 5 of Kadie Major tracking down her killer. Until then, stay safe and be happy.